to the Microschools Show, your window on the global microschools movement. Whether you're a teacher with a dream to build a school of your own or a parent looking for a school that will suit your amazing kid, you're sure to be inspired by the creativity and innovation of our guests. I'm your host, Dr. Meryl Leineberger. The Microschools Show was launched to feature guests from all over the globe who have championed personalized learning for students by building a microschool of their own, as well as to spotlight some of the key players in the movement. Today, I'm talking with Mercedes Gil Hernandez from British Montessori School in Murcia in Madrid, Spain. Montessori Murcia is a small British school where education is personalized so that all children will benefit from the combination of the world-renowned Montessori method with the British national curriculum. Welcome to the show, Mercedes. I'm hoping I didn't totally butcher your name.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be with you talking today,
Did
Mara.
I say
Thank
it
you very
correctly?
much for inviting.
Okay, good. Well, hey, tell us a little bit. So we're talking today, and you're in Madrid. This is really awesome because I've only had one other international guest on, and it's really great for listeners to hear from people who have founded small schools in other countries. And before we started, we were talking a little bit about, the stance you've
Yeah,
taken. But tell us a little bit more about you and about what
yeah.
inspired the creation of your micro school.
Well, actually, it was not in my first plans to work in education when I started my career. Actually, I studied Arabic at the university, and I was traveling around the world. And when I came back, I started working for a bank, which is not very related to British schools. It's really. And what happened is that, of course, I started having kids myself, and I also had the need to understand why people were so adults were so lost in a way when it came to resources and economics and adult life. It's like, and I started getting this interest in education because what I saw is that independence in the adulthood has to be nurtured or started during the first years. Really, it's not like you have an adult going out from a school and you can ask this person things that are completely different from what he was being asked at school. And I started researching a bit, also because of my own kids that were to start in schools, and I found Montessori, which is a very respectful way to approach a person, let's say, and it's defined like the prepared environment is a responsible freedom in a prepared environment, meaning that you can have freedom to do things, but being responsible of consequences that this brings to the consequences, and it's a different approach, and it's really doesn't work like big schools, like a lot of
Okay, so Mercedes and I had to pause for just a second because my husband brought the dog in and
yeah,
stuff happens. So you were talking about the fact that if I were to sort of summarize what I heard from you was, you trained in not in education. You had children of your own, and you began to wonder about why adults are not able to be independent thinkers when they go out into the work world, and you started to look at the sources of education and found Montessori as a great method for giving
yeah,
young learners materials that are structured, but a process that allows a lot of independence and freedom to explore.
yeah. It's a different stages in independence, and because you have this newborn that is everything's new for a newborn. I mean, this everything is the work of a child is not constructing things or constructing the world as the adults do, but the work is constructing herself and making the inner learner and the inner person that he will be. And Maria Montessori expresses very beautifully, saying the man is the son of the child. I mean, you will get an adult in a certain way depending on what you um, nurtured or promoted when, or he self-promoted when he was a child. Depends a lot on the environment that has. And this first stage, the early years, is physical independence, and the children start to walk, start talking. They learn how to, and they want to dress themselves and cook by themselves and take care of themselves and construct them. Because when we can see it every day, when a child has a broom and he's sweeping around the room, you can think as an adult that he wants to have it clean, but that's not true. It's okay because it's clean, he's cleaning, but at the same time, he's perfectioning himself in that task. And that's very important because we have to be patient and wait until maybe he's cleaning what's clean, but he's doing another job. You know, it's like we have to look farther than just what an adult should do because they are different. They have different brains. Maria Montessori talked about the absorbent mind, and it really works different. They are not analyzing, they are not reasoning, they are absorbing what they have around. If you have a calm environment, they will be calm. If you have music in the environment, they will absorb music. And the way to teach, let's say, you cannot teach really well, nobody, you know, if you just can like show, and if the learner wants, he will take it, but you cannot make someone learn anything. And in case of the child is less less than anyone, because um, they will just model, of course, what you are doing, not what you say, and they are not reasoning but absorbing. It's like it's a different kind of function, brain
Yeah.
function.
I love what you're saying about the environment being so critical because I think that's one of the things that's powerful about small schools like yours, micro schools or
Yeah,
Montessori or Waldorf and any of the other models, is that for the most part, you know, these smaller, more personal environments actually promote um, the same kind of, you talked about, if it's a calm space, it promotes calmness in the child. And I think that there's this ability to be seen and heard and listened to and cared about, which then promotes learners that can take on other perspectives and can care about other people other than themselves. So tell us a little bit about what Montessori, Marcia, is like. Is it an actual school or is it for homeschoolers? Tell us a little bit about what the
well,
school is like.
um, it's not we try that the this natural process of learning occurs because learning occurs everywhere, you know, this mottos that school is where you learn. It's not a place. A school is not a building, but it's where the environment is teaching you or showing, or you are learning from anyone or anything. And nature is great for that because we can learn so much from nature. And we know from the neuroscientific research that there are three main things that are needed for learning. One is movement, and it's movement understood as the sensorial experience. Like if you want to know what's a kilo, you hold a kilo. You don't have to like memorize the definition. You just hold the kilo and you know what's that. That's the movement side. Then you have the emotion, because if anything gets um, wakes an emotion in you, you will remember that forever. It's like, of course, we want that emotions to be positive, not negative, not fear or things like that. And because fear is one thing that is against learning. Of course, in a situation of stress, you cannot learn anything. You just are in a fight or flight mood, so it's not really learning. And the third thing is interest. We try to make things interesting, because of course you will learn better what interests you. That if you are obliged to learn something that is nothing, means nothing to you. So with all these bases, we found the best, well, all Montessori schools in the world, I think, are recreating houses. And it's called Casa de Niños, meaning house, children's house. Because if you feel at home, you feel this place, this environment is yours. You can feel safe here. You can feel loved here, and you take care of the environment. You are contributing to keep it clean and nice and or in an order. And for instance, one thing we do almost any Montessori school I know is putting the flip-flops or shoes that are only used here. Like you are entering your house, your school, and we found a fantastic house. It's a very big one that is in a botanical garden. Our botanical garden has species from all over the world. We have trees and plants and flowers from 5 continents. And it's very, very nice. We have a pond, and all this can set, you can really feel when children are in our garden or are in the school, where they can move more or less freely, because we, of course, take all the safeguarding very seriously as well. But they can feel at home, and they are really in a community, and they are learning. It's very different than being just in a post seat long hours and listening and watching like a blackboard, or this kind of school is very different. And well, I think this is the only option for me now. I mean, the other thing is not doesn't make sense.
Yeah, tell us what a typical day is like at your Montessori school.
Well, a typical day, it depends, because now we are starting the adolescent community. If everything goes fine, we will start in place in September. And now we are arranging things online, but we have a boarding school as well that is not working right now because of the situation. But in the adolescent program, it works more like camps, like you can spend time here, because when we started talking about the independence, you have the childhood independence up to 6 years old is the physical one. Then the primary years or elementary years are the intellectual independence. It's like you heard this, let me do it myself, or let me do it alone when you are a child. In the primary is let me think alone, let me think by myself. And in the adolescent is let me like walk around. It's like socialize alone. It's like we want the adolescents to explore socially. So we have a kind of camp that allows them to start different businesses, even. And well, it's different from the primary or child levels. So more or less, the general function of the day is children come in the morning, they go directly to their classes or their houses. They start working, each one of them in one different project. We are not working all the same and the same page, let's say. We don't have textbooks, of course. We don't have these magister classes, like just one teacher telling the class for all the children, but each one of them is working in their own curriculum, except if they want to group with other children, because the primary children are very keen to that, to form collective works, collective groups, and we will have lunch in the classroom. They can set the table up, and then they will collaborate with the kitchen to get all the food, and then they will help in getting everything clean again. And that's it. I mean, it's not, we have a structured times, but it's not a normal schedule of 1 hour of language, 1 hour of maths, but it's a working cycle. It's in working cycles, and then recess, and then another working cycle, and then they can go home, or we can have several extracurricular activities. But I don't know if you were asking me that, Mara.
No, I was totally asking you that. I mean, I think that part of what we're doing with this show is trying to show families and people who are interested or curious about microschools what it actually looks like. So it sounds like a lot of other microschools where the subjects are mixed together, they're integrated, the children have more
Yeah,
autonomy to make choices. There are working periods, and there are times for play, times for eating, times for socializing, but you don't have this, you don't have here in the United States, in so many of our schools, a bell rings and then you stop what you're doing and you go and you change classes and you do
yeah,
something else. It sounds like your students also have a lot more time outside, which has become
yeah.
really popular here as well. So tell us a little bit about, I know your website said that this is part Montessori, part British school, that you're using the British national curriculum. So I'm curious, tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about why that has come about and what that means.
Well, British school is in Spain. We can have like foreign schools, international schools, and we identify so much with British values. The British values basically for us are four. That is democracy, which is evident we share. Not democracy like the fact that you go and put a ballot, and it's not that. It's the environment that allows a person to really thrive and get to any future he wants. Like you are not told what to do, but you can choose. It's like democracy is we understand it like the possibilities of choosing your own future. Then we have all these values are only like limited by the other three values. It's there is respect of law. Of course, we are very watchful with covering all the measures and all the normatives and laws and rules that we have given one each other for convivence. It's very that's a value that we value a lot, and we are also very insistent in liberty, individual liberty. We want all of our students and staff and families to have the liberty to be creative, because if you don't have really, you are not free to do things that are not like predicted or are mandatory. You cannot be creative. It all comes from freedom. Um, and finally, of course, we have tolerance and respect that goes with the other three. You cannot be free to the point to not be respectful. And because of that and the freedom that the methodology of the British system allows us to do Montessori. British system in child years, in early years, is very similar to Montessori. It's very because it's common sense, and they are applying that. It's not like other systems that we know that are not so respectful with stages, with children's stages, and the same time we find that British curriculum allows our students to be open to the world, because it's a curriculum that you can. We have families that travel and go back and forward, and really not before last year that we started with the online and virtual classes, and it's working well because you know it fulfills so many needs, so many different situations that families can have. For instance, for separated families that the the father and mother are living in different places, and the child can be with one or another without having to choose what's the school. I mean, because the school can go with him. He can connect with their mates when he's far away from the school. He can keep their he can keep his mates. I mean, he can connect to the same classroom and work in the same manner with the same adults and with the same curriculum. Everything is the same. And when he's here, he comes here well in the physical, normal diary classes, or in a boarding school. When we finally open again, we can get children back. So it's very flexible. We want to be flexible and allow this mobility, which is much more common in the British system. That the Spanish system is very uncommon. You know, it's not a part of the Mediterranean culture to send children away for learning, but of course it's giving a lot of independence and autonomy to, well, anyone. I mean, if you want to know if you are prepared for something, just leave alone. And that's I think that's one of our main features.
So how many kids do you guys have right now? I mean, with the pandemic still raging on as of this date of the recording of this, you can tell us like prior to COVID, how many students did you have, and then how many now have adjusted to doing this online work?
Yeah, we can have up to 70 children. We reached that number in the past, but with the pandemics and everything, it was reduced, really reduced, and because especially in the child in the early years, of course, Montessori is very sensorial. You need to be there. I mean, it's very. We don't have an infant virtual program. We don't believe in that. Some things can be done, but it's preferable to find a bubble or find some even more micro schools maybe. Of course, when we are open, this stage is served again. But now we are reduced to virtual. We have around 40 children, and it's they're happy. I mean, because most of them are more beyond the observer mind, so they are reasoning and they are open to the world. We can do things that are not. Of course, you can do it in place too. But for instance, we started a program. It's called Skype a Scientist. It's very, very interesting. We have had several interviews with scientists from all over the world. We were talking to a Mexican girl in Canada, which founded it's a bioreactor. She's making meat in the lab to allow people to eat meat without having to go through the farm process and not slaughter animals. So it was very eye-opening for children. And we also interviewed a girl. She's a primatologist. She specialized in mental illness in chimps that had been like in captivity, like in circus and things like that. And how was she treating the mental illness according to human standards, and it was working. So all these things are like more adequate to the online or virtual program. When we come back to the physical environment, we will do another kind of things to equilibrate or compensate. But now we are very into the world and global community and global research, and that's fine. I mean, it's we do a lot of learning. We do learn a lot.
Yeah, it's really an exciting time. We have uh, a group of schools that we work with, and we do a meeting once a week with the kids from the different locations, and they really seem to enjoy having that opportunity to reach out to others like themselves, because that's one of the things that happens with our small schools is they're small, right? So the
Yeah.
opportunities within the school itself maybe not as worldly, but they create that sense of family. But then the technology gives us this chance to
Yes.
really reach out to the rest of the world. So is there anything else you want to tell us about your micro school before we wrap?
No, it's only that I recommend everyone to like at least know this model, because it's very different from the huge schools or macro schools or or classical schools, and it's more familiar. It's more like natural. It's natural learning taking place, because of course when you are less people, you can spend more time and more attention on everyone. So I just can recommend that. It's life changing for children and for families to um, know at least this model. And that's it. Thank you very much, Mara.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for coming on the show, Mercedes. And thank you, listeners, for being part of today's show. If you'd like to be a guest on the show to talk about your microschool or to share your work in the microschools movement, please reach out to me at mara@microschoolbuilders.com to set up your own interview. And until next time, be well.